Final round.
Power.
Nice shot.
KO.
Welcome to Gaymer Girls.
Welcome to Gaymer Girls, the gaming podcast full of nerd news and lore lectures for the girls and the gamers. I'm Sana.
I'm Van.
And today I have a very fun topic for the both of us.
I'm so excited.
I know you love Baldur's Gate 3.
So much so that I actually haven't finished the game yet. 4 or 5 different characters at this point, all Act 3, baby.
Which is exactly why we're not going to be going over ending spoilers in this episode at all.
Thank you.
But we will be reacting to everybody's Baldur's Gate 3 hot takes on the internet, because there's nothing I love more than a bad opinion.
Yes.
Or a good opinion.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's okay to be wrong.
We will discuss all of them.
Can I just say we have a very special guest with us
we
today.
do.
This is Creature. She is 3 or 4 years old, my little baby. I gotta figure out when her actual birthday is, but she's probably just gonna hang out with us. So she's my little haunted black
It's
cat.
her own little animal companion for today's episode.
And my apologies, my day job has worn me out, so my voice is a little shot today.
But that won't stop our excitement.
No.
Talking about all of the hot takes I have managed to scour throughout the internet, from Tumblr to Reddit to Twitter.
Do you have a Tumblr account?
I do. I have my Tumblr that I had since middle school, high school, and I just haven't logged into it in years. So it kind of acts as a time capsule of the era.
Welcome back. Yes.
So I did log into it just over this past week to go search up all of these hot takes. And as we are both avid fans of D&D as a TTRPG, but also Baldur's Gate 3 as a game, we've both played quite a lot of it. I thought it would be nice to discuss some of these hot takes and how we feel about them as enjoyers of the game as well.
Absolutely.
And also because I've never done an evil run of this game, I can't bring myself to do it, but you have, so we'll definitely be going into that as well. So, starting from the top.
I'm ready. Here's
one from Reddit.
Ooh.
Gale should have been a sorcerer, not a wizard.
Oh! No. No, because sorcerers have innate power, correct? And wizard is learned power. Half of Gale's personality is that he reads a book, or that he can read, that he's literate, that he studies, that he craves knowledge. And that's how you get to, because I know what some of the endings are.
Yeah.
This is an incorrect take.
Yeah, I think the big thing about Gale as a character is his hubris and his quest for ultimate power through knowledge, ultimately to show his love and affection to the goddess of magic. But it is that search of knowledge that got him into the situation he's in at the start of the game. And as such a core part of his character, Wizard feels incredibly tied to that as a class flavor as well. Obviously, if you really like how Sorcerer plays, Withers is there.
You can reclass him.
Oh, 100%. But the way that he's written makes a lot more sense as a wizard and not a sorcerer.
Yeah, that's a wrap on that. That is incorrect, and he is a wizard, and it's such a core part of his character.
Another hot take that I saw about Gale, but also a lot of the other companions.
This is great because I am a Gale girly.
Really?
Gale and Astarion, who isn't, right? I feel like that's a basic take.
Yeah.
And then Lacel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all great, but like all characters in the game, and all of them have some version of this hot take or another, but I've seen a lot of Gale is annoying and I don't like him. And as a Gale girly, I have to hear your opinions.
Well, okay, so you're a Gale girly.
No,
as
I'm
well.
saying you're a Gale girly.
Oh, I am a Gale girly, yes. So he does kind of give off a vibe where it's like, love me, please love me, please take care of me, please support me. And I understand that he's very he's kind of a elitist, educational one-upper. How do I say that better?
Academic elitist.
He is an academic elitist. That is what I was looking for. And so that can get annoying, especially if you prefer barbarians, if you prefer fighter classes, if you prefer brawn rather than brains, if you're dumb. I'm just kidding. Basically, he does give off that vibe. And you know what? He does annoy me sometimes, especially if you're like really romancing him, because he's so cheesy. He's got a lot of lines and stuff, but I don't know. He's very cute. To me, it's very endearing. I play spellcasters and wizards, primarily wizards and bards. So I've got a run going with a bard romancing him, and it's very cute. And there's a lot of little quips that you can have story-wise where you make a little bard comment and he makes a wizard comment, and it's cute. So what do you think?
Well,
Who are you partial to in Baldur's Gate for romances?
So in my first run, I romanced Karlach because I really liked her personality. I really enjoyed her character kit. I put her on the totem barbarian class because I needed the bear totem to essentially be my party's pack mule.
Yeah.
Because that carrying capacity
What
does
is your carrying capacity with that feat?
Gosh, it doubles it. So for the most part, other than like when you finish an area like Moonrise Towers and you're going through and you're picking up everything, for the most part, it gets me through the whole of the game without needing to worry too much about dropping stuff off at camp or needing to go find the nearest merchant to unload all my stuff.
I'm constantly loading Karlach up with everything I own.
Also because you've probably seen some of the very silly videos out there of this, but you essentially load Karlach up with a bunch of gunpowder barrels and chain reaction them throughout areas.
Yeah.
Just for funsies, I did that, and she is very fun for that, so definitely having that extra carrying capacity was very silly and made it a lot easier, especially because I am a strength dump stat girly. I always dump strength. I always dump intelligence because I barely ever find myself playing a strength-based class or a intelligence-based class. I've played barbarian once in a D&D game, and that was the only time I ever put a lot of score into strength.
Yeah.
So personally, I'm a Karlach person. My second playthrough, I did Astarion for my romance. And if you are familiar with how Astarion's romance tends to go, especially if you don't go through with the Ascension ceremony, you are able to consensually romance other characters in addition to Astarion.
Yes, and he's down.
Exactly. If anything, he's like, I don't want to do this, but if you need this pleasure or intimacy in your life that I personally don't want to be a part of, but I still want to be with you emotionally, romantically, go do that. That's what Halston was there for me for.
Yes, and with Gale, it's actually sort of an opposite take. In the third act, you can go to a brothel, basically.
Yes.
And there are these drow twins, and you can have an experience with one or the other, or everybody involved. Like, you can get your partner in the game who you've chosen, and they offer to have a night with you.
Yeah.
And Gale, instead of doing that, he'll do that for you, but it feels bad making him do that because he clearly does not want to. He wants to leave. He does not want you to sleep around, which is fine. And that's another reason why a lot of people get annoyed with Gale, because you can't have like an affair with Halsin. You can't go and spend some time with the Drow twins. So, but he'll send a magical astral projection of himself instead.
But that's also part of the realism of some of these characters in their writing. As much as they are player sexual, they still do have boundaries and preferences and things that they want in a relationship and don't want in a relationship.
Yeah, like a person.
Exactly. So it's only realistic that sometimes those don't align with your values, and that's okay.
Yep.
I don't think that makes Gale annoying, though. Granted, was I a little pissed at him for eating 3 of my magic items in Act 1? Absolutely, but I think that's just a shared experience.
Yes, it is. That is frustrating, but then you realize, like, when he asks for food in Act 1, quote, food, unquote, in magical items, most of those items can be throwaway items. They're not, like, your high-value gear.
Oh, sure, especially by end game, but I think at the start of the game, when you only have so many magic items and you want to hold on to them because you don't know what's awaiting you by Act 3.
That is true. When you are going into the game for the first time, you don't understand the scope of the magical items that are possible.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt as much by the end of the game, but I can't understand why people find him annoying.
Yes.
So our second hot take.
Okay.
Shadowheart not being able to tell her memories have been manipulated was a weird character choice.
People think it was weird. I've never heard this.
This was also one that I found that I was like, this is a strange hot take.
Yeah, I find that Shadowheart's story did take me by surprise just in terms of the fact that it wasn't paced out as well as I think it could have been. But you do get those, especially if you play a dirge run, which is your dark urge run, and you have memory issues as well. And these aren't spoilers. You wake up and you don't understand who you are or why you have certain inclinations to do evil. And you can relate to Shadowheart with that starting in Act 1. And that appearance kind of grows and grows. And then when you discover Shadowheart's connection to her true goddess, then it starts to make sense. So I never thought that would be a contested aspect of her character.
Yeah. If anything, I thought it was a very good representation on how trauma can change your memories of things.
Sure. It was forced, though.
It was, but I thought it was still like, because this is obviously a world with magic. Modify memory is a spell that exists in this world. But the idea of, I guess, the metaphor of how trauma can change the perception of your past and your memories. That's how I took it personally. And I thought that was because she has been through a lot. There were forced aspects of this that were done to her. But her story is ultimately, especially if you go the route of dropping Shar as her patron god and moving to Saloon, it very much felt like a metaphor for how trauma can color your memories and shape them in a specific way, in a way to suppress a lot of that hurt from your past.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And we see parallels to trauma and how characters react to it. I mean, among all of your options in romanceable characters and your companions. I mean, with Astarion, clearly he's like sex averse because he was used for his body for 200 years. With Gale, he fell in love with a goddess whom had such power over him and is literally the weave. And that is a power imbalance that we see reflected in his devotion to her, especially in Act 3 when we go and confront Mistra. So I like that as a parallel for Shar and trauma and for Shadowheart.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we can both agree that this hot take is truly a hot take.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's all. To clarify, if I never mentioned for our audio-only listeners, Creature is my cat.
I guess that would have just been an audio-only, a video-only thing. Next hot take. Karlach is so grating on the nerves because the writers were afraid to write a beefy woman with anger, so they overcompensated with a golden retriever persona.
No, she's... No, she is... That's how she handles her trauma, is through humor, very clearly. I mean, that comes from a beefy woman with anger needs some way to compensate. She needs an outlet. She needs a way to cover up her emotions. And the comedy makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, I thought this one was crazy because, especially when you look at Karlach's intro and how she's presented to us, we're told that there's this fiend we have to go kill. And Will tells us, there's this person I have to find as a part of my contract. We have to go kill her. And then you meet her and she is not a terrible evil fiend.
You have to relate to these characters in some way when they're your companions.
There is definitely a trend throughout the game of these people are not who they seem. Like outward appearances do not reflect, who they might be on the inside. We see that with the Emperor. We see that with Karlach.
Lae'zel, Karlach, Astarion, Gale, every single one of your companions. I mean, the first time you meet Halsin, he's a bear.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense that Karlach doesn't immediately fall into the stereotype that she is immediately painted as when you are sent after her. If she was a really angry, violent, aggressive person, you would be more inclined to kill her and fulfill that part of Will's contract.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's not, and the fact that the paladins that are trying to kill her and she ends up killing are the actual evil ones is the part that makes it so compelling.
Yeah, and I think also just to get back to the base of the hot take, which is that writers are supposedly afraid to write an angry, maybe butch or like broad and muscular woman. I don't think they are afraid to write angry women. We have angry women in this game. Lae'zel is an angry woman, and I think they handle her anger beautifully. She is proud of her anger. She stays angry, and that is an aspect of her character that is applauded to an extent. I mean, you know, you want Lae'zel a part of your team for, like, first of all, she's just got very different interactions, and she's fully fleshed out. She has wants and needs, and one of her primary personality traits is that she is a gruff, angry woman. The writers are not shying away from that.
Yeah.
We see that in many characters. We see Isabel and what's her face, her lover.
Oh, Dame Aelin.
Yes, we see Isabel and Dame Aelin. Dame Aelin is a righteously angry woman. I don't think these writers are afraid of writing angry women.
On the topic of Dame Aelin, I also saw, this wasn't one that I wrote down because I truly thought it was a hot take, but some people were saying that it didn't make sense that Dame Aelin and Azamar, who is good aligned,
Yes.
of Saloon, would stomp in Ketheric's head, where I'm like, she has been killed over and over and over again. I too would probably go off a little bit at the guy who did that to me.
And good aligned and non-violent are not the same thing. We need to separate that out, okay? This day and age with our modern politics, being morally correct and good and being nonviolent aren't necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I believe that for a fact. I believe good can be vengeful as well, and that is clearly what it was with her stomping in Ketheric's head.
For sure. And no doubt a lot of that was shaped from the fact that maybe she would have shied away from doing that before she was locked up, but
then she was locked up.
And killed over and over and over again.
Yes.
I mean,
tortured.
Yeah, you can only keep yourself for so long until that anger eventually gets to you.
Yes. I'm curious what you think about good and bad morality spectrum in D&D, because personally, I think that the morality spectrum is great for new players, especially people who are new to role-playing and making creative decisions within a story. It can provide a framework. I think it can be limiting and restricting. So what do you think about the lawful, neutral, chaotic evil, morally good spectrums?
I think I agree with what you're saying with when you're creating a character, it is nice to have a framework of, okay, how would this person probably react to certain situations? And you can kind of put yourself in an alignment chart depending on that. I have been in a campaign now for almost 5 years. And in that campaign, my DM has fully nixed the alignment system from the campaign completely. Because they don't think it's interesting if every creature from the lower planes or like from the 9 hells is lawful evil. That's not interesting to them as a storyteller. So in that specific case, I completely understand wanting to get rid of it for the sake of having more interesting stories with nuance when it comes to morality. And for that reason, I like it as a basic framework, but I don't like it as a rule set.
Yes, I like that. Okay, very well said. Okay.
Our next hot take, and this one's going to be a funny one for you specifically, because I don't have any opinions on this, but I'm interested to hear what you say. I despise Minthara, and I don't understand her popularity. People only like her because she's drow dommy mommy.
Ooh, maybe I agree a little bit that she's mostly appealing for being drow dommy mommy. Okay, so I am not as progressed in a full evil dirge run. Mm-hmm. I do not plan on, I plan on taking the crown of Karsus for myself. I plan on killing every innocent population. It is harder and more slow going because I feel so bad for my favorite characters when I kill them. But I did it so that I could recruit Minthara and have her be a part of my party. She takes a little bit of getting used to. Her humor is definitely more along the lines of Lae'zel. That's maybe people aren't as receptive to characters like Lae'zel and to women who have anger and who are intentionally evil and corrupt.
Yeah.
But I think story-wise, I enjoy her presence. She makes my decisions stronger. Mm-hmm. She has one of the craziest intimacy scenes in the entire game. It's very interesting, and I did not complain. So I do see why people maybe like her, because she's like drow dami mommy. But I think she definitely fleshes out a fully evil run. She makes sense to have, and her character dialogue options are interesting.
So I have heard Minthara, because I know that there are ways to recruit Minthara into a good run. There's and I think they patched it to make it easier to do that as well.
The game devs did make it easier for you to recruit Minthara. You did used to have to do this convoluted thing where you had to knock her out non-violently.
I do remember
kidnap
that.
her.
Yeah.
It took a little bit of working around. I did have to do that, but now I think it's a little easier. If you do a full evil run, I think she just shows up at your campsite and you can choose to have a night with her. You have to be Minthara all the way. It demands loyalty and your attention, but she is useful in battle, and I think she's got some strong stats.
Oh yeah, especially as a paladin. I have heard tales of, as long as she can hit, she fucking one-shots.
Yes, absolutely.
I have heard that she is truly evil, I will eat babies evil.
Yes, she is, but I am doing an evil dirge run. I will murder babies kind of evil. So I think it fits well for the character. So you don't want her in your party, and you cannot have her in your party if you want to do a truly good run. When you add her to your party, you do lose Karlach and you lose Will. And I believe Gale, you have to succeed in a check against him, because you can sway him to being I want evil power for, all of my wizard knowledge and things. So yeah, it is tricky. You cannot play the game with Karlach or Will.
Actually, there is a way.
What?
I don't know how he did it, but my partner managed to get Minthara and Halsin and keep the whole rest of the party on a good run. I don't know how he did it.
I mean, it could have been with one of the new patches. Patch
Probably.
8 was really big.
Yeah, but it is funny because I think this also kind of goes into some takes that I've heard online that I saw, that evil runs aren't as fulfilling as good runs, generally speaking. And I think that also comes with the fact that just if you're evil in real life, you can lose a lot of the people around you. And if you really want to have as many allies as possible, a good run is kind of the best way to do that. And it is the most fulfilling. Is that good game design?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
And
Probably
think about
not,
it too,
but
when you have, I think it is good. I don't know. I think about it as, if you do the evil run, you do most likely lose more of your characters. You don't do as many of the main quest stories, basically.
Yeah.
You don't do as many of the main character stories if you do an evil run, primarily. So that is less gameplay, and that does mean a less well-rounded game. I think most people go in doing kind of maybe a chaotic run, or they'll happily murder whoever, get through interactions by murdering people. That's fine. But doing an evil run where you're siding with nobody else, it's more difficult, I would say, because you do have less people, but it is also less fulfilling because you do not get as much gameplay.
For sure. All right, this is a silly one.
Okay.
Because it's not necessarily only Baldur's Gate 3 related. There are entirely too many things to see and do, and the simplest actions often take too long, and waiting for enemies to react and attack while in combat is too time consuming. This also kind of jumps into the hot take of there are too many locks to pick and too many traps to disable.
To disarm, yeah. You know what really frustrated me was doing the library unlocking in Act 3.
Yeah.
Basically, you are trying to find certain artifacts in a library maze of rooms, and there are multiple traps in front of every single one of these doors in this library system, and then there's 5 doors in every room that you go to, so it's at least 5 traps to disarm with a bunch of gargoyles shooting things at you. The Temple of Shar, the Trials of Shar, very frustrating, a lot of traps to go through as well. But to me, that makes sense in terms of like, sometimes I think in adventures, you don't always get to do the fun bits all the time. And everybody always has a preference. I'm sure there is a player base out there that loves having to succeed on lockpick checks all the time, which after a while, you get spells that can help you out with this, and you get someone's character abilities like Astarion to unlock all your stuff, and it is so easy, and he passes every time. But someone who's like battle focused is gonna have to role play. Someone who's role play focused is gonna have to beat someone up eventually. So I think it might be annoying for some players, but not, universally.
My opinion on this is Baldur's Gate 3 is probably one of the best adaptations of the D&D 5e system from tabletop RPG to a video game format. And that includes all of the good and bad things about D&D 5e as a rule system. And checks, especially checks for traps, especially when a lot of these are DC 10 checks, I can understand how a lot of people are annoyed at the fact that you can pass them really easily, especially if you have someone with lockpicking proficiency. But the fact that you have to sit and do them one by one is the tedious part. And I think that has more to do with the fact that D&D 5e as a system can be very tedious in this regard. I'm not defending this by any means. It is a very tedious thing to go through and disarm every single trap to make sure that you don't accidentally
blow yourself up.
Exactly. But it does come with the territory of Larian decided to make a game that is very faithful to this system and did not optimize it or streamline aspects where it might have been more fun for players to have just not have to deal with that system if they're going to pass it anyways.
Yes, that's true. When there are like low DCs, and that just means like the number you have to beat on a dice roll in order to pass something. But I think it also, I don't know, I think it adds to gameplay as well when you are dealing with that and then you run out of lockpicks and it's like, dang, I gotta go get more lockpicks, or I didn't want to have to bring Astarion into this, or maybe I can't fast travel back to my campsite and go and get someone who can actually pass these checks. It adds a little bit of strategy there, and I get it's annoying. There are games where I'm like, this something is way too annoying, I will never do it. I will never find every single Korok in a Legend of Zelda game. I cannot be bothered, especially in Tears of the Kingdom where they all have like little, like, I gotta go bring you to your friend because somehow you can't get over there, or you fell on your backpack and you can't get up. It's tedious and I won't do it. But I think it is forgivable in Baldur's Gate 3.
Next hot take. There is no point to Halsin being in Act 3, especially when Jaheira is introduced as another druid.
I think Halsin is a stronger druid than Jaheira, but I think that's just because I like his... Well, I guess you can reclass them both. His stats are a little bit better. He's less squishy.
Here's my take on it. So Halsin is a optional companion to add to your party.
Yeah, you get him in Act 2. He is... Well, no, sorry.
You get him at the end of Act 1.
End of Act 1, yes. And then he joins your party. He is a druid, which means he changes into animals. His primary form is a bear, so that is a bonus action. So in combat, you do not need to spend a main action point or turning into a bear in order to attack next turn. He's a beefy elf. He is big. He's a big boy. And you can have intimacy with him in bear form. I did, yes.
Here's like my thought on this, because I can understand the frustration that your camp by the end of Act 3 is very big. Because if you're just doing a good run and you try to get as many people as possible, and you haven't murdered anybody because you're playing Dark Urge.
You also, just for clarification purposes, in Act 3, you are attempting to build an army of your companions and allies in order to fight the final battles.
Yes, but you have Jaheira from Act 2. Yes. You have Halsin from Act 1. You get, though they are not companions you can have in your party, you get Dame Aelin and
Isabel.
I forget her name.
I forget one of them all the time.
You get them in your camp as well.
Oh, that makes us bad allies because they're lesbians.
You know, there's a lot of characters in that game, and I can't remember them all.
Yeah.
You get Minsk.
Yes.
At some point as well, along with all the other origin characters. Oh, also, there's a kid with a cat.
Yeah, Yenna.
Yeah, you have an owl bear and a dog. It's
Yep.
a very big camp. Oh, also Mizora at some point hangs
Just
out.
hangs out, yeah. Oh, and there's a bard, Volo, that just kind of hangs out as well.
Depending on whether or not he dies at some point. Because
yeah,
there's a lot of points where he can die.
He's really squishy, and he likes to get in situations where he can die.
But your camp does get very bloated. So I can understand being like, why is this guy here? But my defense of Halsin is that he, when you get to him in Act 1, is like, I am an adventurous soul, and I am frankly not interested in being the leader of this druid camp. In fact, I found somebody else who is perfect for the job.
Yes.
Who is not going to kill children.
Yep. Big problem in Act 1 are druids trying to kill children.
Or one druid
specifically, but they're trying to kill a bunch of refugees as well, so.
Yeah. A terrible haircut, honestly. But
wow, I mean, accurate, but wow.
Listen, not all hair options can be bangers.
Yeah, no, honestly, Shadowheart's new hair after she goes to Thulun, no.
Really?
Yeah.
I like those bangs a lot more.
I just think her hair in all forms bad.
That is
Oh,
very
shout
fun.
out to Sana's new haircut if you're watching on YouTube. Not even a haircut, just hairstyling. We've got some orange highlights. It's looking good.
What can I say? I am susceptible to mainstream trends, and the copper hair color stuff has gotten to me, and I don't regret it.
It looks so good, though.
Thank you. So Halsin at the end of Act 1 is like, I'm an adventurous spirit. Also, I'm really invested in the Illithid army stuff and
And saving the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he is a very large part of one of the main quests of Act 2, which is saving this forest and helping the spirits of that forest and restoring it to no longer being a dark and gloomy, swampy place.
Yeah, he's big on nature. He suffers in the city.
Yes. So him being there in Act 2 obviously makes a lot of sense because he is directly tied to one of the main core plot points of Act 2. And why is he in Act 3? Well, he's invested in saving the world.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he's there. You don't have to like him, but I don't think there's no point to it. It makes sense. Also, him and Jaheira, because I see this a lot, that there's not really any other recruitable characters that you can add to your party who have the same class as somebody else.
Yes.
The thing with Druid, as someone who has played Druid both in Baldur's Gate 3 and also in D&D, just as a system, I've played Druid multiple times. It's one of my favorite classes. The subclasses in Druid are so different in their gameplay and how you play them that Halsin being a Circle of the Moon Druid and Jaheira being Circle of the Land means that they have such different play styles that it doesn't feel like we have two druids in the party.
Yeah, you can play them totally differently. I typically keep Jaheira as a caster.
Yeah.
And then I typically keep Halsin as his bear or actual animal brute force.
Yeah, because Circle of the Moon is so ingrained in utilizing wild shape as your main core mechanic in combat, and Circle of the Land is much more tied to the casting sides of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, they added Circle of the Stars, which is personally my favorite druid subclass.
Ooh.
And so I actually haven't played with that patch coming out,
Okay.
but I am very excited to get back into it and do a Circles of the Star druid because I do love that one. But druid similar to, I think, cleric, druid has different identities depending on the subclasses you pick, so it doesn't feel, in my personal opinion, feel as redundant when you have two druids.
Cool. What runs have you done? Just basic, maybe just class, not even race, but what are the classes that you've played?
First one I did monk.
Okay.
Because I love a monk.
You like the martial aspect of things of battle?
No, I like monk because you get quite a bit of utility with monk.
They are sort of jacks of all trades.
Yeah. And I do love, personal opinion is when I play a class, I like to have a lot of utility in my kit. And so if I can do things other than just be good in combat, I really like that. Also, a big part that I didn't realize that I ended up falling into this accidentally, but I'm happy that I did. There is one cloth armor piece you get in Act 3, and it's a beautiful slutty dress.
What? Where?
The mermaid dress?
Where?
With
What?
like the deep V-neck and the up hip.
Oh, I know what you're talking about because
Yes.
I've seen cosplayers wear it. Where do you get that?
You get it when you save Will's dad with the submarine.
Oh, haven't finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, spoiler, at the end of that, you go to the Temple of the Wave Mother.
Yes.
I think that's what it's called.
I'm actually almost there. I'm actually going to do that with one of my dirge runs.
So you go to the Temple of the Wave Mother, and a lot of the women there are wearing that dress, and that area and that temple is specifically tied to, because they're like, hey, there's this like weird thing in the water. And once you do the Will's dad stuff and you save him at the underwater prison, at the end of that, you can get that dress as like a prize. That's
Got
the
it.
only way that I know you can get it. If you can get it in other ways, I'm not sure.
Cool.
But I do love that dress, and the fact that monks need to not wear armor in order to gain the benefits of their AC.
Yes.
I was like, I'm so happy I could wear this pretty dress, look slutty as hell, because I'm also playing a drow.
Nice,
It
nice.
looked absolutely fantastic. So that was my first run. And then I did a dirge run as a druid.
Redemption dirge.
Yeah, because I can't be evil.
Yes, no, I've got a redemption dirge.
Yeah,
too.
you can't ask me to kill people and be mean. I can't do it. I'm not
You're
strong
so
enough for that.
nice.
I'm too nice for that. I can't do it. But those were the two that I've
Okay.
interacted with the most. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How about you?
So I started playing a multiplayer game with a wizard, but my solo games, I have a drow bard, I have a redemption dirge druid, elf druid, and then I'm running Karlak as well because I wanted to do one of the origin characters, and I kept her as a barbarian, but a wild magic barbarian. I enjoy wild magic play just because I loved the Unsleeping City by Dimension 20.
Yeah.
So then I've got my actual evil dirge is a fighter, and I have one more. I just started a warlock run. So I do not remember the name of the god or which path I chose. But that's still Act 1. I think I just crash landed. Like I haven't even defeated the first troop of goblins.
Do you have a personal favorite that you have played?
I'm really liking the druid mechanics, to be honest. I really like my redemption dirge character. I love wild shaping into an owl bear. The wizard is very fun, and I can do a lot of area of effect damage, but I prefer casting as a druid, actually. Plant growth is one of my favorite spells of all time.
Great CC.
Yes, absolutely. So I think druid is one of my favorites, but I am liking warlock, so that's why I'm excited to get into the higher levels of that one.
Hell yeah. The next one.
Next one.
The lack of companion interaction in camp is a missed opportunity, and the banter they have while out in the world is not enough to establish relationships between them.
I like the banter they have out in the world. I think it does establish a relationship. I think you have to be paying attention to that and actually read the dialogue and bring out all of your companions. You have to be switching them out constantly. I do think it is a bit of a missed opportunity. I want camp drama. You know, I don't want little side, comments about how, Gale does all the cooking or whatever, but I want to see them interacting.
I agree. And as someone who has played a lot of other RPGs where you have a main hub and you can see different characters in your party interact with each other, maybe they're not in their usual stations, they're off somewhere else and they're talking to each other and you can overhear their conversation. I do quite like that. And I do quite like it when Veilguard is one that immediately comes to mind because I've played it most recently. Assassin's Creed Shadows also does this quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where you can go back to your hub and you can see characters either having little dialogue comments with you or other characters around. And then in like the case of Dragon Age Veilguard, when you bring them out onto the field together, depending on how many conversations they've had in camps, their relationships will change and what they talk about will change. Maybe they were feuding before and now they're chiller with each other because they've made up with their differences. I can understand that it might be a little complicated with Baldur's Gate 3 with just how many characters there can be sometimes. And if they're constantly moving around, it could be...
It's already a huge game. So what they've put in there is already a lot.
Yeah.
I think it would be a fun patch if we could
sure.
do that. I would love just itty bitty cutscenes. Maybe it's just for, at the beginning of your selection process when you're setting the game up, you choose if you want to do a story mode or like a tactician mode, or you basically difficulty levels of the actual game. Maybe it's just a story mode add-on, but I think it would round out these characters. This is why I'm on Tumblr, because I like to continue those relationships in my brain and sort of my own headcanon of the universe. So I do wish there was more interaction. I don't think this is a hot take.
Oh, for sure. And also when you have games where it's about people coming together to save the world, it only makes sense that you would have more interactions between the other party members, because at the end of the day, we're a team either trying to bring this thing down, steal the crown, submit to it, depending on what type of run you're doing. But seeing those relationships build out when you are trying to build that army of allies is really nice to see.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Next one, which I have a complicated relationship with this. Well, not complicated. I don't have a lot of a relationship with this hot take. Alfira is overhyped.
I think it was hyped up online because, spoiler alert, basically, Alfira is this bard character. She's very cute. In the normal playthrough, she's not there very much. She's got a fun costume.
We should also say that she is a bard.
Yes.
As far as she plays a musical instrument. She is not a bard in the true sense of she has the bard class.
Yes, she is a non-playable character. She is an NPC. In the Dirge run, can add her to your party or your campground for a night.
Hot minute.
A hot minute.
A hot second.
Before, big spoilers, you murder her.
Yeah.
So that, I think it just caught people by surprise, because I think it took a little bit for people to play the full game in their normal run. Then people started picking up the Dark Urge. Then that started, bringing in traction online, and people were like, how can I get around this? Can I not murder her? Can I get away with her? Or have her join our party? And then it became a big sob story online. I don't connect with her very much. And to me, she was a little annoying just in terms of like, oh, she's so jolly and happy. And I think it was sympathy bait a bit, especially in the Dirge run.
For me, my first playthrough, I did not find where she was in the camp, so I never interacted with her.
She's far away, yeah.
Yeah, she was kind of out. There were, like
on a cliffside.
Exactly. And I think this is kind of everybody's, I'm assuming, experience with Baldur's Gate 3, where if you play multiple runs, you will find that in the second time around, you're like, oh, I missed quite a few things.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's side quests that I completely missed out on because I didn't walk onto this corner of the map and realize that this character was here. And that's kind of what happened to me with Alfira in my normal Tav run. Mm-hmm. So didn't even interact with her. Like, I knew she existed, but I thought she was just some NPC.
Yeah, and a Tav run, Tav is like the basic name before you can change your own name in the character creator.
Yeah.
Like, that they have in place, so you can go as Tav.
Yeah. And then when I found her in my Dirge run, that was when I recruited her to a camp for a night and then murdered her and went, oh, shoot.
Oh, it catches you off guard, I will have to say. I was not expecting it.
It's a really good setup, especially because, especially if you're not trying to be an evil, murderous person, you're like, oh, this bard's coming to camp. She's slightly less annoying than Volo.
Yes. And
get in here, and then, without you being able to control it, and you don't really have a choice in the matter, she dies.
And I would like to say I was romancing Astarion when it happened, and he's actually pretty supportive. He's very funny about it. He does not care.
Yeah. Honestly, I really liked, because I also did Astarion as a romance for my Dirge run, and I did quite like it.
It just seems so poetical and beautiful to have Astarion, your tragic elven vampire prince, and you tragically inclined towards evil just like him, and you can redeem each other. I'm done. I've read a lot of fan fiction.
I have not, but I know the Astarion girlies go crazy for him.
Yes, yeah. I am split down the middle with Gale and Astarion, I think. I would be a Hausen girly if Hausen was around for the entire game, and you could have like more than just like that one scene with him.
Do you have a ranking of romances in your opinion?
I haven't romanced everybody yet. With my Carlock run, I'm romancing Will, and because I think they're very noble, and I think that would be like enemies to lovers, very fun. But in what I've played and who I've been with, I think there's two different paths here. I think romantically, if you're going monogamous route, like Gale's number one, I think Karlach is very nice. I have just started I think I'm going to go evil fighter. My fighter who's the evil dirge is going to romance Shadowheart. So I've seen her first little cutscene. That's very cute. I think that goes on that list there. And then I think Will is probably very chivalrous, but I just haven't experienced that yet. And then I think for your sexual interactions, your intimacy, I think it has to be like Astarion for the first little bit and tied with Minthara. So Minthara and Astarion are great. Halsin is right below there because you don't have too much time with him. You've got like one scene with him. But after that, Lae'zel is very interesting. I have to put in effort to get along with Lae'zel personally as the player.
So now that we've gone through all the hot takes, I have to ask you, just a little speed round. Do you have any Baldur's Gate 3 hot takes?
Hot takes? I don't think
Or lukewarm takes?
Yeah, maybe lukewarm takes. Maybe just opinions. I think they
Yeah.
might just be opinions. What is the difference between a hot take and an opinion
I think
anyway?
how unpopular it is.
That's fair. I think this one is probably lukewarm because I think it's pretty popular. I think you should be able to sleep with Zevlor, the tiefling leader of the refugees. I think you should be able to sleep with Roland and romance him. I love the Roakin Tower library fight. Very fun. I think the Illithid Mind Flayer ship fight where you have to go and where you find the Duke's people and you have to unlock those people, I thought it wasn't very thought out. And it took me a while to understand the lay of the land. Maybe that was just me as a character. But Mizora, finding her just trapped in one of those pods, like randomly, it just felt like there could have been more. I don't think this is a hot take because I think a lot of people agree Will's story needed to be more integral to the plot because he is literally involved with the plot. I mean, the Duke is a big part of it, and it did not seem as important. I think he should have had many more character scenes and much more early on development. I don't think he was as involved in Act 1 and 2 as he should have been.
I think the general problem with some of the companion stories going off of that is the amount of focus and stress on them between Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 is very imbalanced between each character.
So variable.
Like some of them get more in Act 1 and then by the time you get to Act 3 you're getting absolute crumbs or vice versa. I think most of us can agree that Shadowheart gets a whole lot of love.
A lot.
Between
early game.
And as long as you interact with her story in Act 3,
but
she
you
has a whole close to
actually
it.
have to do the Gauntlet of Shar in order to progress through the story.
Yeah.
None of the other you do have to interact with the Astarion storyline to an extent, but not necessarily. You have to interact with Will's father storyline, but you don't not necessarily.
You don't have to close it off. Yeah.
You don't have to at all. You actually had to be involved in Shar's storyline, and I don't think it was as relevant to the final plot as other storylines, and hers definitely got more attention.
Yeah, and I think Lae'zel also falls into that. She gets, as someone who is a Githyanki and the Githyanki and the Mind Flayers having such a history, it makes sense that she would have so much place in the plot. But even then, the Kresh, you can technically ignore.
Oh, I've skipped past it in two of my runs.
And which kind of doesn't make it as interesting when you get the reveal in Act 3 that Orpheus is alive.
Yes.
It's not needing to go through the Kresh doesn't put as much of a stress on that or make it as interesting. So I definitely think that if I was to design Baldur's Gate 3 at a second time around or something, hypothetically speaking, I think giving the companion characters their time to shine in the main story
so important
would be one of the things that I focus on. Though I can also understand to an extent why some of them might be built that way because of the fact that you can go through runs without interacting with certain characters or recruiting them.
Oh yeah, you can go through a run without and they'll show up. If you don't recruit Lae'zel, she shows up at the Red Dragon battle area in Act 1. And I think you also may run into Karlach as well, and you may run into Gale, but like you don't necessarily need them. You don't need to recruit anyone. Actually, you can do a solo run. I've seen people do solo runs.
Can you go through without Shadowheart at all?
I think you could probably go through it without her. They make it hard because she's the first body you find on the beach. And I think it's important for the Gauntlet of Shar. I actually don't know this. Should we Google? Okay, so we paused and had a question. What happens if you don't recruit the companion? So first of all...
Or rather, can you go through without recruiting any companions?
Yes, the answer is yes. It does look to be difficult, but also like... You know how Shadowheart has the artifact that you need? It will just appear in your inventory after you have a dream that involves the Emperor. So Reddit user Friendship No 1440 says, and going in order with the companions, what will happen to them if you do not recruit them? Lae'zel will be killed by her own kin, trying to get purified because she is still infected, and the Githyanki society, they get purified.
AKA death.
AKA death. Shadowheart apparently gives you a second chance if you didn't free her from the Nautiloid, and she will stand in front of the ruins door if you still ignore her once you reach the path to the Moonrise Towers. She will accompany you, but then I think she dies later on. Astarion will go on his own, but he will come later to your camp to bite your character, and you get the chance to not allow him to suck your blood, but stay or kill him, and if he's dead, he's dead. If you give him to the Monster Hunter, interesting, he can still be used as Cazador's ritual sacrifice as a zombie skeleton, which is fun. Gale can be skipped and will never return. Oh my goodness, okay. Will be skipped, and Karlach can be killed right off the bat and is simply dead, or you can deny having her as a part of your group, and she will not get very far without her engine fixes, is what this user says. Halsin will, if you side with the Absolute, you can ignore his whole thing. You can basically ignore his entire storyline, and Minthara, you can kill or re-educate her in Act 2, but don't really need to add her to the party. Oh, apparently... If you don't recruit Will before you kill Kaga, Will dies during the Tiefling versus Druid fight.
Oh.
Wow.
So it looks like it's possible.
Yeah.
It is just a bit harder and more convoluted.
Yeah, maybe not recommended.
Yeah, but I imagine you still will do the Gauntlet of Shar without the context of any of it and get to Dame Aelin.
I imagine you do the whole thing, exactly. But not to cut you off, sorry.
No, it's okay. Just I imagine a lot of those key aspects of the main story quests that are tied to specific characters end up losing a lot of their context or play out very differently because the people who are core parts of those storylines are not there to
explain it.
Yeah.
And provide, you're right, that context. Yeah, I think that's probably that. I don't know. Do you have any hot takes?
Well, this might just be like a community thing. I think people are a little crazy about Astarion, which is fine.
Yeah, I think he got like way too much hype. And that's okay because, I mean,
he's
that's
a
for the character.
Very well written character.
Yeah.
He is a very well performed character. Neil Newbin does a great job as the actor behind him.
I mean, he's an attractive, suave, older man. Like, they're always going to get attention in these games.
Yeah.
And I think this fan base is a little crazy for him. But I don't think that's a hot take necessarily.
No. And there's also nothing wrong with that.
No.
I enjoy your characters.
Oh, absolutely.
Hell
please.
yeah, we love it.
Engage with content and entertainment, please.
This was a hot take I had, but is no longer relevant because it got patched out.
Oh?
I had a lot of issues with Gale in my first run.
What happened?
Because I'm someone who, we've been over this. I like to be very nice to everybody.
Yes.
Gale had a little bit of it wasn't necessarily a bug, but the way that you could respond to a lot of his dialogue made him think that you were interested in romancing him when the dialogue options did not give that indication.
Oh, I also, with Will too, you end up in a romantic scenario with him no matter what.
Yeah.
And so, but Gale, very easy to win high approval, very easy for you guys to get romantic even if you don't want that.
Yeah. So, and they ended up fixing this, so it was not an issue by the time I did a second run, but it was very funny because I was very committed to a relationship with Karlach. I do love her romance, but at some point in Act 2, Gale was like, hey, what's going on? I thought there's something between us. And I was like, what gave you that impression? So they did eventually fix that, and you no longer get that just from interacting with him kindly. But that's probably a hot take I definitely had before, but now it's been fixed, so it's no longer a hot take. They should add transmog to the game and also die previews. Guys, there's so much cute armor. Well, I guess part of the fun of sometimes these action adventure games, and this is not a hot take at all. This is a very much a cold take, lukewarm take. This is probably, I know this is a very
might not even be a take, but it's
not
a
take at all.
thought.
Opinion. There's a lot of armor in the game. There's a lot of really cute armor in the game. I've also heard the opinion that part of the fun of playing these games is sometimes you end up looking absolutely insane.
But you're powerful.
But you're powerful.
But you look terrible.
Or you can look great and absolutely nerf yourself, which is what I do every time.
I always hide the helmets. All the hats look stupid. Whatever like armor I end up having to put on like my lighter class folks looks dumb.
Yeah, so I definitely wish that I could put that sexy wave mother dress over whatever armor and not have to worry about how it looks. There's some really cute circlets. They're not powerful, but they look cute, and I will wear them, and it'll nerf me, and that's fine.
Yeah. It sucks when you have like, oh, here's a good piece of jewelry, but my character had really pretty like rings on or something, or very cute hats and circlets.
Also, I wish there was die preview. At this point, I would do the thing of I'll quick save before I die things. I'll try a bunch of different dies, see which one I like, load back, and then just use one of the die that I like.
I save scum this game so much. I want to preview every dialogue option. I want to break people's hearts and agree to marry them in like the same dialogue window.
I will save scum.
Yes.
You know, if they give you the option, it's fully allowed.
Right. I'm just someone who wants to know all of my options. Like, what happens if I respond? I'm trying to get the best approval possible, because I have to work to get approval from Astarion, and I have to work to get approval from a couple others like Lae'zel, just because it's not my natural inclination to play the game a certain way. Gale always falls in love with me,
but he's also easy to please.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, he is easy to please.
I will say there are 3 characters who are not hard to romance, and in order they go Lae'zel, Shadowheart, Gale.
Lae'zel approaches you very quickly and very early on. Shadowheart, no, I think Shadowheart takes. You have to like work for. You have to intend on romancing her.
I don't know.
Because I think you just ask her, if you're not pushy about asking her about herself first on, and then you remember what her favorite flower is, and suddenly she's fallen all over for you. It's like, girl, raise your standards. The bar is in hell.
I don't know. So my partner decided to, on his first playthrough, just do the romance based on whoever comes at him first. And Shadowheart came at him first.
Wow.
And he was a little upset because Gale came on second and Lae'zel came on third.
Oh, which one did he want to?
He kind of wanted Gale, but he was like, I committed to this, so Shadowheart is.
I think Gale's romance cutscenes are so romantic. I like learning the weave, and I like the talk about the stars, and like I like that he's cheesy.
If you want your magic nerd man, he is the perfect magic nerd man.
Yes, and I love a magic nerd man, so there we go. Yeah, and I think out of like the women, not a hot take, we should be able to romance Jaheira. Yeah. Where is my mommy moment? Like, I want Jaheira. I want Jaheira so bad.
She's
I want
great.
my MILF.
I love her. I love her hair.
Yes.
I love her personality.
Yeah, she's
perfect.
Great.
When I did my Dirge run, I did do like sort of an oops all druids party, because I had myself a druid, and then I had Halsin and Jaheira, and I think I had Astarion for lockpicking.
Sure.
And also because I was romancing him. So I'm like, you're in here too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No, I had Shadowheart, because every time I do a new game, I respect Shadowheart to be a war cleric.
Really?
I love war cleric in this game.
I've never tried war cleric. What is better about that?
It makes it so she's much more of a frontline tank than Trickery Cleric, which is the one that Trickery Domain, which is the one that she starts off with. Trickery Domain is very much more lightweight armor. Yes. You are more of a utility CC caster.
She's always my healer.
Yeah. But when you have War Cleric, some of the nice things are Spiritual Weapon and Spirit Guardians are prepared spells, so you never have to use up other slots to get them.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Spirit Guardians is a 10 out of 10 spell in this game. I love it so much.
Yes.
It's great. So just always having that on her, and then having her act as both a very powerful frontline tank, but also having those healing capabilities. And obviously, if you're running other druids, they also all have healing, which is outside of wild shape. They can use healing abilities. So it does make it a very protective team, but having her there as your frontline tank is very nice.
Yeah, I always keep that might be helpful because I prefer casters, so I always need someone there just to be ready to heal, basically at all points in time. And then I'll usually stick like one tanky guy. But when with the druids, which is why I like them, is you get a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Which is so nice. I kind of want to play a cleric at some point as well, but I am making myself finish the game first before I start a new run.
I have so many memes for you that I have kept in my back pocket for when you finish this game, because
I'm enjoying it. I'm taking my time, so don't rush me. I can't be rushed. I want to listen to everything. I want to talk to every single NPC. Don't make me rush. Just kidding. I am though. I today is my day off. I am very, very excited to later tonight play some dang Baldur's Gate.
And just to finish off the episode, not with a hot take, but do you have a favorite moment from Baldur's Gate 3? A moment that sticks out to you, one that you're like, I really like this. This was cool. It could be a fight. It could be a cutscene. It can be a certain character interaction.
Wow. Oh, that's so hard. When I found out you can conjure elemental, that's because I'm constantly conjuring guys. I love having other things to fight with me. So that was a big influence there. You know what? Just because I've replayed it a bunch, actually, I really like the Leroican Tower fight.
Yes.
And I really like that moment of reconnecting with Roland afterwards. Maybe that's not my all-time favorite moment of the game. There are so many powerful moments in this game that are so much more emotionally charged. But I really like that moment. I really like that battle. I think it's very well done. So what about you?
Wilbrin Bongle getting his dues.
Yes.
I hate that. No.
Yes.
And I know there's some contention about Barkus also being way too passive and he needs to stand up for himself, but Wilbrin getting absolutely dropped. I was so happy for my man Barkus. I was like, you've been through so much. You were strapped to that windmill. You had terribly toxic friends.
That was such a fun callback because I thought he was never ever coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Didn't someone make a song? And sorry, you're gonna have to bleep this, but Wilbrin Bongle.
I said that to you.
You did. Yes, you did. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. No, that's a fun one. There are so many good moments in this game. This game is funny.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I want to play more Baldur's Gate.
We will probably both be playing a bit more Baldur's Gate after this.
Yeah.
But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any hot takes, lukewarm takes, opinions, whether they be your own or ones that we cover in this episode, feel free to comment down below. What are your thoughts on all of these? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have ones of your own that you've either seen or...
We'll be in the comments reacting to them.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, like it, hit that little bell, subscribe, reach out to us on Instagram at gamergirls.pod. Hang out with us.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Final round.
Power.
Nice shot.
KO.
Welcome to Gamer Girls.